Hi, all. This is Dr. J and Professor
Hello,
Spike,
everybody.
streaming live from
Oh,
Long Island, New York, where the weather is sunny.
yeah, come in.
I don't know.
My coach.
I don't know. I don't
You want
know
to say
the
hello to the
time.
world? Okay. Actually, my son's here. He'll in about a year he'll be able to ask some questions because he'll
Oh,
finally have
that's
some money in
good.
the bank.
How are you doing? Are you as smart as your dad?
No,
No.
absolutely
No, no, very few people are, so don't feel too bad. Man is there. Welcome. He found us. All right, so I didn't advertise this hardly at all today because I thought we were going to do a Zoom
Yeah.
recording and post it on a delay. But
The
we
problem with
said,
Zoom is that we have no audience. At least now we have Man.
Man is alone is all we need. Man's full of
Exactly.
knowledge. And look
Oh,
who's
we
the
got Cat.
look, we haven't seen Kat in a while. Kat's counting her
No.
money from VNGO. Kat, are you counting your money? Kat was in VNGO at 60 pennies or less.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, bingo. That one took a nice jump.
Yeah. We're celebrating Kat's victory with BNGO. She's been in it as far as I can remember, under 60 pennies. I don't know how
Nice.
long
Hey, Alex.
Hey, good afternoon, gentlemen.
How long
How
are you still in it, Kat? You want to give us a thumbs up? You sold
She sells it soon. Join the world.
Yeah, I mean
You sell the good ones
that's
too
really
soon.
difficult
You keep
to
the
know.
bad ones too long.
It's difficult to know when to sell.
That's
How's the
buying is easy.
we're going to still have audio difficulties.
I think we're good so far. How about you, Alex? Do you hear everything okay?
Yeah, you guys sound loud and clear, so I think it's
All right.
going well.
Let's cross our fingers that we'll actually have a good audio this week.
Hope so.
You know, given all the three pretty faces everybody sees, now maybe they could even close their eyes and actually find out what's going on.
Yeah. So I want to go over the two best picks of the year that each of us gave and explain why we picked them. Not so much the two best for the week, but the two best for the year. Yours was MCK, and
Well, actually, to be perfectly honest, MCK.
No, don't be perfectly honest. What we have on the board.
No, all right. Well, MCK. The reason I got in, I saw from last week's show, you were wondering why I was doing Proto Labs and MCK.
Oh, that's right. I didn't know the answer to MCK. Proto Labs. I had a problem recalling what they call.
That's right. That's right. I'm just thinking that if manufacturing stays more local, I'm not really worried about China, but one of the things that COVID did lay bare was the fact that a lot of manufacturing in the country really is too reliant on China. And so with Proto Labs, we have the opportunity for very fast manufacturing, 3D, and prototyping. And I think that's going to be a winner because this idea of waiting for everything to ship back and forth and then all the COVID protocols, maybe it's just quicker to just send something to Ohio, get it developed, get it updated real quick, and then get it out. So that's why I'm bullish on Proto Lab. As far as McKesson, that's not really for the whole year, but since they were the ones that were distributing the Moderna virus, the Moderna vaccine, I thought that they were going to be having a good taste of some of this COVID money.
Well, I probably made a mistake and put it for both of them. Who knows what I did? But this is what you got for the year.
Yeah, it's fine. I could live with it. But I'm still thinking McKesson. I might bail sometime in a couple of months.
Well, you can bail, but you still got it for the year. So
I'll live.
Alex, what are your two top ones for the year?
Well, Diamedica, as you guys know, I'm very bullish on their phase 2 kidney readout that's going to happen or begin. The first cohort will read out probably early April, and then you'll get the other 2 cohorts somewhere April through June, I would guess. So, the stock's kind of been playing ping pong with itself for these past few weeks here. It's kind of consolidating a little bit, but I think if we can be at the current price point going into that data, I think it's going to be really good and catch a lot of investors' eyes and potentially big pharma's eyes. I mean, some people I talk to that are also long the stock, think a buyout's possible, which, obviously would be great for the stock. So I can go into more detail on Diamedica. I really like that company. You guys know that. And another one I like is also Green Thumb Industries. Marijuana industry. I kind of anticipated the Georgia Senate results going the way they did. And obviously the stock got a nice boost from that. But I think cannabis is really going to be at the forefront of this throughout the year as we kind of get this blue wave in Congress and in the White House and in the Senate. So, I don't think that this stuff is going anywhere. It's still OTC traded, and it's almost a $3.5 billion market cap company. So I think, uplisting can come, and there's kind of a number of catalysts that can happen this year that really can, increase the free cash flow of these companies and make them a lot more intriguing for new investors. So, I like that industry, and I think Green Thumb is sort of best in class in terms of the multi-state operators and that
symbol.
GTBIF.
GTBIF. You listed that on the website, GTBIF?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
So that's the symbol for Green Thumb.
Correct.
It's a multi-state U.S. grower, right?
Yep. I mean, they have all parts of the supply chain. I mean, they do have grow ops. They own storefronts. They own licenses in states that have both medicinally and recreationally legal marijuana. They were big in Illinois, which just rolled out cannabis in 2020. They pretty much have a monopoly in Illinois, which is a huge market with Chicago. Very, very solid foothold in Florida, Massachusetts. And, I think as we kind of get more legislation that, whether it be the federal level or the state level, I think that they're sort of best in class from what my research tells me. I mean, I also think that there are a few others you could buy in this space. I think, it's a rising tide lifts all boats scenario. But, I think it's important for them to have the brand recognition. And what I've been reading about Green Thumb is that they have a lot of brand recognition, which is important. When people go into these stores to buy stuff, they kind of get married to a certain brand or a certain type that they like. And I think they have a good foothold within that. So I think they're in the right spot at the right time. And I don't think, with how the legislation is going to roll out here in the next few years, I don't think that these stories are going anywhere. And, I know a lot of funds can't even buy this thing yet because it's OTC traded. So, if you get an uplisting, I think these things can really run.
I like a similar company, Curaleaf. I have a large position in it. Also, very vertically integrated, multi-state grower, multi-state. They have their own brand name. And they're very aggressive marketing. And New York is going to come online. And they have a strong presence in New York.
Mm-hmm.
The government,
do you have an opinion on ACB Aurora?
ACB has had a little pop recently. I don't know what it's all about. But all the big...
Does that play in the same class or no?
Not necessarily. I don't think. I think there's parts of that are overlap, but Aurora, I don't think it necessarily has that vertically integrated component that you get with some of these other U.S. MSOs. I also like Trulieve Cannabis, TCNNF, very similar company to Green Thumb. They have a really, really good foothold in Florida, which I think is a really hot market right now. I've heard some bearish talk about management and whatsoever, but I think that, all these stories are gonna, like I said, it's kind of a rising tide lifts all boats scenario. So I don't own True Leaf, but I definitely own Green Thumb. I've owned it for about a year. It's been, a little bit volatile, but had some really good performance in 2020, and I'm not really tempted to sell despite, sitting on some good gains. I think that this is all just beginning.
Your top pick in the cannabis sector would be GTBIF, top pick,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
My top pick, CURLF, Curaleaf. I'm in since 4. It's now trading at 13. I think it's got potential to go to 50 this year. Potential. I'm not calling for 50, but it's potentially. More likely 20s by the end of the year.
But yeah, before we move off that space, one of our listeners, Confucia, was really big on now these microdosing psychedelics, saying that that might be a greener apple to step into, like Compass and stuff like that. They're working on growing psilocybin and treating PTSD and depression. Do you guys have an opinion about that stuff?
We know about that from the 60s. We don't need the
Yeah, but that was sort of like, that's the difference between going to a casino and going to a back alley.
I'll say that, Oregon had some positive news on that front in terms of kind of decriminalizing and taking steps towards legalization for, mushrooms and components like that. So, I don't know how many states are going to follow suit very quickly, but, I know Kevin O'Leary, who some people respect, some people don't, but he's big on that space. So, it's really early, I would assume, for a lot of these companies, but I think it is interesting. I mean, if you can have any sort of indication in those spaces that can show progress, I mean, PTSD is, obviously a terrible thing, and it can help those people out all for it.
Over at Stanford, they're doing a lot of research on psychedelics and its use in what do you call it? Plasticity of the brain? Neuroplasticity of the brain.
Right.
Whatever the fancy word
Well,
is.
Dr. J, while you keep learning stuff, we know that neuroplasticity exists.
Yes. That's the idea. You can learn.
Confucia did make a comment about this, saying that there might be potential with big pharma might get in the way of some of this.
You can learn better under the influence, they say.
That's probably true too.
Seriously.
Now, Sneed,
look, the smartest guy I ever met in my life was when I was a freshman in college. He's the only one I ever knew with a higher IQ than me. In any event, other than Spike. In any event, he swore that he was much more creative just from smoking pot to get the psychedelic.
A lot of musicians would say that stuff also.
And he was a very brilliant guy, the smartest guy in the college that I went to. MMNFF.
Did Timothy Leary get smarter or dumber after he found acid?
I don't know, but he was happier.
He certainly was happier.
MMNFF is my call for the penny stock of the week. MMNFF, I'm in it since 14 pennies. I think it's around 17.
I got in that $7.
Well, you're a little early.
That's what happens when you get too early. Exactly.
Yeah, you're a little early, but you got the right idea. Another psychedelic researcher.
Right. Then after psilocybin's going to be peyote, right? Because everything old is new again.
All right. So what ticket do you have on the psychedelics?
I did Compass.
What's the ticker on that?
I think it's CMPSS. I'll say in a second.
SS, 5 letters?
No, CMPS. CMPS, right? Compass. I'll tell you in a sec.
And who
They were the only ones that mentioned any kind of FDA approval.
who suggested this to you? Confucia?
No, it was part of a conversation that we had been seeing on online about some people discussing that. It's like another green apple to start thinking about since we are at the beginning of the year, right?
Yeah.
And so there were a couple of companies mentioned on these sites, but the only one that I even talked about CMPS Compass. The only one that even talked about being in line with the FDA was this one company.
And what's it selling at now, Compass? You have a quick quote?
It's selling at 44.64. It's down $2 on the day.
Okay. All right. So the play of 2021, according to Antonio,
2022, let's say,
is Northwest Bio, which any moment can announce top-line data on their glioblastoma drug, which works through dendritic stem cells, whatever they are. I have no idea. I can talk the talk, but I can't walk the walk. I have no idea really what the hell had the mechanism of action on any of these things. I think you got to be a cell biologist to understand this stuff. Totally understand it. Antonio's got a large position, he told me, in NWBO. IDEX, another popular one around this board, if you want to call it a board.
Yeah.
Around this vlog, this show. Oh yeah, probably. Big Pharma will intercedes. All right, so Canopy Growth is the best.
There's a lot of money in depression.
Antonio rates Canopy Growth, CGC the best. It's also one of Linda's top picks of the year. So we have to give that some respect.
Absolutely.
Let's go with Ada Wong, Aurinia Pharmaceutical. She must have been listening to Jake lately. It's one of Jake's favorites.
Well, I'd love to hear his opinion on it because I've been on it with him since he started talking about it.
Jake is on a corporate retreat, so he couldn't make it.
Yeah, next week.
But I should talk about my two top picks a little bit. I know I mentioned them last time, but my two top picks for the year is DraftKings, DKNG, which is at around 50, a little under probably. DKNG. I have a mental target on this one of $99.99 discount. Sell at $99.99. DraftKings. I think you can get a double this year. I think the brand recognition is clearly there. I think the base from the fantasy is clearly there. It's got an edge over every other name except for maybe Penn, PENN, Barstool, which is one that I like a lot as well. But DraftKings, in my mind, is number one for sports betting, number one for fantasy. And I think it's a bargain where it is now. I think it goes up to $100. The chart is great. Everything about it is great. State by state, they're talking legalization. Cuomo is talking legalization. He's changing his tune, He originally was against it.
Right.
So now he's all of a sudden looking at the coffers and saying, what happened to my shekels? And he says, well, sports gambling may not be bad.
Yeah.
Well,
and,
with DraftKings, with DraftKings, you get a little bit more of the pure play than Penn, right? I mean, I know Barstool's going to be big in this space. Me being younger, I know the kind of cult that Barstool is. But with DraftKings, you don't have all the physical casino locations like you do with Penn, correct? it's not, it's, you know, it's way more of a pure play on this, in my opinion. You know, whereas you do, if you own Penn, you know, which I also like, you have to swallow kind of the casino storefronts and, you know, what might be happening with that and COVID related issues throughout the year. You get the sports gambling, but, you know, with DraftKings, in my eyes, it's a little bit more of a pure play on all this.
Right, and that space is starting the other space of more general non-sports betting. There's starting to be a lot of players going in there. It was the one that just came, LCA just put out Golden Nugget, and then there was another one coming out also that's got a casino's name on it. So they're trying to draw that together.
No, Rush Street.
Rush Street.
RSI. But the thing is, I thought about going with them as my top pick, but I want the brand recognition. So
the question is whether or not traditional gambling versus sports gambling is going to be, you know, is going to have a lot of penetration. You're right. There's a lot of people, you know, sports is a little bit more legitimate than blackjack in terms of, like, you know, you can tell your wife that you're going to the bar with your friends and watching sports, but, you know, it's a little bit harder to say I'm going to the casino to lose all my money on blackjack.
You just don't tell your wife.
How else are you going to get the money?
That's a good one. Antonio likes my pick. Not only does he like it, but he says it's a great pick. My number 2 pick. Let's see if Antonio is with me on this one.
Oh, yeah.
My number 2 pick is Dermatech. Back to bio. I wanted to pick up some cheap shares. On Wednesday, when I was talking to Arjun, I said, there's an offering. We can pick up some cheap shares. Great. Well, it ate the offering for lunch, as Man said. Man left a comment on our blog saying that Dermatech ate the offering for lunch. It was up $4 instead of going down. So,
why doesn't it happen to our other stocks?
So, you know, I first got in at 15. I bought more at 25. I actually sold it and bought it again at 25. But I have a much larger position than I did at 15. And I'm planning on buying every doggone.
Oh, I think he froze.
Dip there.
Back.
Oh, he's back.
No, maybe not. Maybe he froze a little bit. But we get to see his pretty face anyway on the little banner. Yeah, no, I didn't even know there was an offering, but yeah, the stock right now is at 35. This DMTK, and it's been one of his favorites. It took a really nice jump over the last. It started at around 13. He said he got in about 15. Went up as high as 40, and I guess he's still very bullish on it. I'm not sure which particular
is I think
this one does in terms of this might have. I'm trying to remember whether or not this was the stock.
Probably be taken out.
All right, Dr. J will be back in a second. We can talk about. Let's switch over while he's off. Let's see. Is he coming back? Dr. J, are you back? All right. Yeah, okay, here we are.
I don't know if you heard me when I talked about
just go for you to speak for a little while.
Did you hear my discourse on Dermatech?
No,
everything up until you said it was going to 100.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I'll keep quiet. I'll let you guys talk a little bit. You want to do the charting? Should I try?
We might as well give it a try. Worst comes to worst, we use my machine.
All right. Look, I only went over the 3 of our top picks. I did not go over
we should have people talk about their own picks, I would say.
ADAP is on the move.
Now, as far as the picks,
it is on the move. My top pick is DraftKings. My second top pick is Dermatech. That's how I see it for the year. And Confucia, who is your top pick?
I'll take a look.
I don't know.
This
He didn't give it to me. Confucia, you didn't give me your top picks for the year.
No, we don't have anything from Confucia. We have Dr. We have you, Jake, Omar, Pete, Alex.
No Confucia.
Why don't we do Magnificent Answer? Is he here?
Who? MA is he's giving me 8% winners a year, 10%.
Let's look at his then. His top two are actually these are interesting. His top two are sorry, let me get down here. Mankind and GNPX, which I've never heard of.
Well, that's a very, very big mover from last year. Went from 2 cents to $4 or something like that.
Which one's that?
GNPX. It's a bio. Cat D has been in some hot ones.
Oh, I'll look at
Yeah,
who's next.
I guess you're out of BNGO completely from the way you talk, right, Kat? She's been in some hot ones. Kat, you only buy the hot ones, or do you buy some that are cool? DMTK has warrants. DMTKW, maybe. I don't know. I'm not aware of it. I'm not aware of it.
Well, is that part of those offerings you were talking about?
I will take a look to see if they do.
Yeah, Cat bailed most of it.
Yeah.
Oh, so at least Confucius telling us, giving us a preview of what we're going to see when we put it on the site.
This is a list.
Yeah, I know. I've never heard of these.
I need everybody's top picks for next week. I need that by Sunday.
Right.
Monday at noon. That'll be the deadline.
Yeah, you're gonna have to announce the winners for the week.
It's Confucia, you're invited, of course, and Linda, and who else is on our list? Pete, and MA, and who else? We have one other, don't we? Besides that?
Right now. Linda Arjun Marty.
Marty, that's right, Marty. And also, if Kat wants to do it, you're welcome, Kat.
The more the merrier.
Yeah. Not too many more, because it's work for Dr. J.
Yeah, so much work. Yeah, I think you have to make that chart wider also, now that we're talking.
That's what MA told me. So that two for making the boxes bigger, which I can do.
So we can read them all in one sighting.
Top two is Northwest Bio and IDEX. All right.
What's the story with IDEX? You mentioned that a couple times already.
Why don't we chart it?
All right, we can start with that one. Why don't you give it a try? If it doesn't work, we'll use my machine.
Yeah, I'll give it a try. I think once I'm in the Hamptons next week, things will be much better. I think it's Verizon. First, I thought it was StreamYard. Could be StreamYard. They're merging with another outfit. Could be.
Well, like I said, at least the sound better.
With a bigger company.
Oh, DRIO, Confucius mentioning.
That's a big mover. Yeah, big mover.
That one's moving.
Arjun's moving.
Oh, Dr. J, please get rid of the last comment so we could see Alex's pretty face.
Jiggly has returned. Jiggly, you had us worried about you. Will you you got to send us a note if you're absent. You got to bring a note from your employer.
Oh, is that
Shalom, MA. You're doing great. You actually have a weekly. MA had a 12% gain for the week. That was the highest.
Yeah. They
Pete's
should be
list
following
was from
them.
the,
They shouldn't be following us.
yeah, well,
Well, that's why I'm writing everything down. I wish I had money. There we go.
yeah.
Well, so far it looks like
I've made plenty of
everything
money.
looks okay.
I've made plenty of money from people's suggestions. Big techs with TGTX very recently.
Yep.
I loved the chart as soon as I saw it. By the way, you know this euphoria in the market, this everybody making money in the market. It's not going to go on forever. You know that, don't you?
Well, my
Tesla,
vids are
Tesla
open
at
at that time.
1,000. Tesla at 1,000 may not be too realistic for long. You got to
Really?
be a little leery. Sooner or later,
I didn't know
the
Tesla was that
roof
high.
is
Didn't
going
they
to
just
come.
do a 5-for-1 split?
They're going to have another 5-for-1 split at this rate,
Give me a
right?
break.
While we're kind of on that topic, I mean, do you guys have any EV or, you know, kind of in that space plays that you like this year? I mean, it scares me to buy Tesla. I don't think I'm going to do that.
Question.
My
I
top,
just jumped into LIT, which is an ETF for batteries and lithium.
I'll show you my top play. SBE is my top
Oh, switchback energy.
touch point.
That, yeah.
They're a stock.
I saw that was one of your top picks too, Professor Spike.
It's in there, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, no, certainly you can't go into this year without something on these batteries. That's why I said I also went into LIT. Cabinet Guy's mentioning MPC and Paul Kim's mentioning ENG. So those might be worth looking at going forward.
And for the car play,
You know, I've been wondering a lot how, you know, aside from the cars, you know, a thought that I've kind of had is what is long haul trucking really going to do to meet some of these green energy initiatives? I mean, you know, we all kind of know and saw what happened with Nikola this year. I think, you know, an electric truck is still many years away. So I'm just kind of wondering how that space is really going to, you know, decarbonize itself in a quicker fashion. So I've been doing a little bit of research into that, and I've got a couple plays. I maybe can, you know, circle back to them later. But that's a question that I've asked a lot of people, and I don't seem to get a very straight answer. Or no one's really told me how that industry is going to decarbonize quickly and efficiently. Because, you know, I don't, even if you do have an electric truck, if you're UPS, if you're Amazon, if you're those companies, do you really want your drivers stopping to charge every few hundred miles? I mean, you know,
I'm sure
to
it's
me,
not going to be that bad.
it's a nightmare.
But a lot of you know, we're not talking. A lot of the lion's share of the driving is last mile anyway, so I wouldn't really worry about that being an issue.
Yeah, maybe Amazon
Workhorse?
was a bad example, but you know, maybe I'm thinking more on the long haul shipping front.
Well, because the post office is committed to spending billions of dollars in exactly that space. And so the only company I've been hearing about, there's a couple of companies they've been mentioning. Workhorse was one, and a couple others, but they're mostly for, like we were saying, not the longer haul stuff, the shorter haul stuff, right? But I guess if batteries end up doing a good enough job, we wouldn't really have to worry about long haul either.
Yeah, I mean, I guess with long haul and batteries, you know, I think the issue now is that it's tough to generate the required amount of torque to pull a big load like that. And, you know, if you're a freight company and you're shipping your semis and trucks across the country, I mean, can you really afford to have your drivers stopping to charge for a few hours every, you know, 400 or 500 miles? I mean, it just seems logistically somewhat non-feasible.
How about if the truck is driving itself? Then you can afford to.
Well, no, if you're delivering milk, it's a problem. But if you're delivering something else, it might not be.
No, if you're going cross country and you have a driverless truck, Who cares if it has to stop every so often to charge?
Oh, it's a question of getting it there on time. Like I said, if it was milk or flowers, that would be an issue. But if it was other kinds of commodities, who cares if it's a couple hours extra? Now, Dr. J, you were looking at Nikola, and they were doing trucks, right?
Yes. I still have a small position in NKLA. I took a little bit of a hit, but I still have to.
Have they addressed that issue in any of their discussions?
You mean the issue? Which issue that they were accused?
The issue of longer distance hauling.
Well, it's not only Nikola, but it's Workhorse that I like for the trucks.
Mm-hmm.
KHS. And there's a couple
Sorry,
of
I
other
felt
things.
that one early.
What about NGA? Is that they? I think they have trucks as well. The stack for Lion Electric.
Wow.
There's quite a few with trucks. Tesla has a truck in its plans. They all do. Trucks will be here. Electric trucks are already here, and they're going to be the future. In fact, there won't be any gas-powered cars made in 5 years, probably. It'll be all electric, and probably self-driving will start happening quicker than we think. So
while we're on the self-driving topic, one of my top picks for the week was Veladone LiDAR, VLDR. LiDAR and the sensing aspect of self-driving cars. I think some of these companies could be ready to take off here. It popped big on the announcement that Apple was going to get into the space.
Right.
It's kind of volatile stock, very, very much so.
Right.
But I think those plays could be ready to roll here.
Can I have that symbol again?
VLDR, Velodyne LiDAR, sorry.
I'll take a look at that.
This is sort of interesting because I haven't done this juxtaposition. Both of you just said that there was some sort of relationship between self-driving cars and going electric. I mean, they seem to be two different things. Are they connected in some way that I don't see?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I just think a lot of the companies that are working on electric cars. Go ahead, Dr. J, sorry.
I don't think that you're going to find a gasoline-powered car that's self-driving ever. So they're connected in a sense.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking.
Maybe it's possible, but so this is Builder's first source, and they're working on self-driving cars, autonomous, whatever it's called.
This is yours, Alex.
Is this VLDR? Sorry, my screen's a little blurry here.
Yeah, it's VLDR.
No, I meant VLDR, not B. VLDR.
D is in
Veladone LiDAR.
VLDR.
I've seen a lot of investment banks initiating on this one. I think they're all playing a little bit of catch up right now. But yeah, VLDR, V is in vase, LDR.
V is in vase, L
is in lion, D is in dad,
D,
R is in Ryan.
R.
D is in dad, not B. DR.
DR.
Yeah. Sorry about that.
It's the audio quality and my hearing combination.
But sure. I think this one is interesting, and I think it's got a strong
on your audio nerve.
I think this is an interesting play here, and I think it's got a really significant retail following. So my guess is some of the people who view your guys' show have heard of this and followed it, because this is really all about the sensing and making sure that these self-driving cars are going to be safe, when they do roll out in mass quantity. And it's, as you can see by the chart, it's been, quite volatile over the last few months. But, I really do think that these companies are ready to take off. I mean, I've seen a couple of big investment banks initiating. And, I think it's an interesting story. I mean, the profitability is a little bit far off, but, I think as self-driving cars become more feasible, I mean, this is a great supply chain play on that.
Well, yeah, it's had a very nice run since whatever this date is. I'm having trouble finding it.
That probably, my guess is about early December there.
December 2nd, you hit it on the nose.
Yeah.
Very nice run. And we went from a low on that day of a low of 14 to a high a couple of weeks ago of 25.40. No, 30.81. That's a nice pop. And now we retreated in a straight line down to this low of 1.5, and now we're moving back up. So it's quite likely with this graph this chart that I'm looking at, that we're going to have another run at that high. I wouldn't be surprised. At least the open that day, we should take a run at least $28. So I see a little further continuation of this move as we continue following this trend line. Now, the thing is, the whole market is going to implode. It's just a question of, is it 1 week, 1 month, 3 months, or 6 months? But it's going to implode. It can't continue like this forever. It's unless you get runaway inflation, and I mean, it's possible you could have some kind of forces that are unforeseen, not happening now, that come to light that cause it to melt up further. But from my experience, when the pennies take off like this, when every little biotech goes up with no news, when every little tech stock moves up with no news, when basically you throw a dart and make money and everybody's leaving their jobs to day trade, that's the time to be very, very wary. Sentiment is very, very high. Bullish sentiment is very, very high. It's a very, very scary market. I myself took 25% off. I am in 25% in cash, and I'm making a lot more money with just 75% of my on the table than I did when I had 100% on the table. That shows you how much MOMO this market has. So I'm very, very cautious. I got one hand on the buy button, but 2 hands on the sell button, waiting for the implosion. And when it happens, it's going to be very, very, 1,000 points in 1 day, that kind of thing.
Right.
So
I'm with you. I've got some dry powder as well, just kind of waiting for sort of the event you're talking about. And it seemed like with what's happened this week in our country, I thought maybe that would catalyze some of that, but
that's wrong. Right. When the market ignores something that major, something's messed up.
You have the pandemic, which with food lines like we've never seen in our lives, bigger than the Depression. Food lines in Brooklyn, I've passed, friends of mine have told me about them, that they've passed them, and they go on for 10 blocks.
Whole stadium parking lots are being used for that stuff.
So, and then you see pictures in Arizona of cars waiting for food, and all over the country, big lines. I mean, this is to many people worse than the Depression of that we had in the 20s. So 1920s, 100 years, right? Every 100 years you get a depression. So I don't know. I'm very, very worried about
the wrong 20s is likely to last for about a year instead of a decade, and then there'll be a comeuppance.
Yeah, I'm very cautious at this point. All along, when everybody was saying, you know, the market's getting killed, when we had that big sell-off 2 years ago, I said, this is a bull market. It's coming back, not to worry. Now I'm telling you it's time to worry. I told you back then I would let you know when it's time to worry. It's
Right.
time to worry. Right? Officially saying it now. It's time to worry. I'm not saying go out to the market, because I'm not out. I would be hypocritical to tell you to go out. But
it's still playing.
There's plenty of money to be made short term, that's for sure. So it's just a question of how short a term it is. So this is one that looks very interesting. I'm glad you alerted us to this one.
I think the next one you should chart is IDEX.
Yes.
Only because we've been talking about it, and Antonio says it's got a connection to the EV portion of it, not the self-driving portion of what we're talking about.
Okay.
And so it's just worth a look-see, at least for its fundamentals. Again, it's another one that made a nice little jump, huh?
50 cents today.
Wow.
16%. That's a nice little pop. Nice little pop.
Look at that.
Look at the pop it had back here. It went to 475, and the same day you had a low of 221. That's an incredible candle right there. Very red candle. You think it was a really bearish candle. Turns out it was a bearish candle, but it put in a tremendous high. But look at it afterwards. It just gave back to everything plus, and now it's starting to make a pretty solid move up. But today it looks like it's a similar candle to the one that we had back in 1124, where we have a very big trading range from $3 to $3.90, and we're right in the middle now. So it'll be interesting to see how this one plays out the rest of the day. If it turns red or what. And the volume is very, very, very strong today relative to the previous volume. So it's an interesting one to look at, to analyze technically, but it's also fundamentally. Yeah, but it may actually turn redder. Right now, it still looks like a doji.
What do you think is a good entry point at the middle of that green candle? Or is it even going to go that low?
I don't like it right now.
It's expensive now.
If it comes down to a close at about let's say midway between 3 and 350, 3.25, I would probably stay away. Just don't like it. I just don't like the picture, to me.
Short term or long term?
Short term. Long term, it could be very good. I mean, don't like the picture. I don't like it. To me.
Right. Certainly don't buy it today.
Yeah, I would say if you're going to look for the middle of this candle, if I were buying this one, I would want to bargain. I want 275.
I hear you.
Knowing really nothing about the fundamentals, just from looking at the chart, I would want 275. Assuming that the rest of the day will be turning the candle a little redder, assuming that's the case. I would say right about the high of this candle, middle of that green candle, right in here.
Yeah.
Right about 265, something like that, 275.
Right,
I'm going to put in an alert on this one. If it drops below 3, I'll stop watching it. I wouldn't chase it right now. Although the way things are moving, it's hard to it's hard to. This is not like a normal market, so who knows? You know, you see tremendous volatility in these little stocks. I'd rather chase something else. I'd rather chase, there's other things to chase.
Well, let's take a look at SOLO, only because it's in the same industry.
And Pete is in it solo. Solo is one of.
And then we can go to our usual suspects before we close off.
It's an ugly car. I wouldn't buy this stock.
That's why you're going with that designer.
Yeah, I don't like ugly cars. Pete said he owns one, I think. It's not doing great relative to the rest of the EV market. I don't like this short term. I probably don't like it long term. I know the fundamentals on this one. Pete would argue with me on this, but I'm not thrilled with this. The chart is very.
Anyway.
I mean, the chart is ugly in a very hot marketplace, for one thing.
Okay. Fair enough.
And the car itself turns me off for another thing. And it can only do a max of 50 miles an hour, I think.
Yeah, Pete said he was just joking about having one.
It's basically like for a city car for making deliveries.
Well, yeah, that'll be the new.
I just don't see it.
Now, again,
I don't see it. I'd rather be in. I'd rather be in Henrik Fisker's company,
right?
FSR.
FS what?
May not. FSR, but Fisker is the name of the designer of the car and the primary owner of the company, CEO.
You've been on that one for a while, actually.
Yeah, I mean, the chart doesn't look much better than Solo's.
It looks exactly the same.
Yeah. It's not a wonderful looking chart, but I'm in it for the whole long term because it's going to take 2 years before his car comes out. It's it's called the Ocean SUV. He bases the design of all of his cars off of my favorite cars from the 60s, the GTO, the Mustang, power cars. He bases it off of some of the Italian cars, Ferraris. I just like the look. I like the looks of all of his cars.
I'm looking on Google Images right now, and these are really neat looking. These are cool. Wasn't really familiar with this one.
He's a tremendous designer, probably the best designer of the 21st century, and I would go with him. I would go with him. I am going with him. I believe in him. So that's, but you got to have patience. It's going to take a while. Maybe it's early. I don't know. But most of my EV dollars are going to go on SPE. SPE is the one.
Switchback Energy is doing cars as well.
Yeah, they're charging stations, not that.
Oh, okay. So it's not cars so much as cars adjacent.
Anything electric.
Okay.
Charging stations. Infrastructure. Now,
I have a request that's a personal request. Do you think it's too late on Workhorse?
No, I don't. I think the electric vehicles are still playable, believe it or not. I even like Google Alphabet because of Waymo. I think it's going to be a big success. Waymo is a leader in autonomous vehicles.
Right. Well, again, we're conflating these two industries, and I'm sure it's not inappropriate to do so.
No, because Waymo is electric, and they're also autonomous.
But there's a lot of social issues with autonomous vehicles that have to be overcome. Do they stay in the same lanes with regular people who are erratic? Do they
There
put too
aren't
many
going to
people out of work?
in 10 years, there won't be regular people. You won't own a car. You just you'll call an Uber that's self-driving. It's happening. Don't kid yourself. There's not going to be a need to own cars. It's going to be cheaper and
So my
safer.
retirement plan of being a car service driver is not going to work out for me?
Maybe not. Find another career.
I don't want to teach anymore.
Workhorse is making a better move than any of the others we've looked at. It's making a
Right.
nice move. It's looking
Question
good in
is-
the chart.
The question is, do we miss the boat on getting this at a bargain? Is my real question.
No, it sold off a little off the top today. This is not a bad place to buy it. I think we're going to probably make new highs on this one.
Yeah, because I bailed at the like low 20s, and I didn't get back in.
Well, you can still get back in. I mean, you do have a series. This part is a little ugly. Yeah, you have your high of 30.99, a lower high a month later of 30.59, a still lower high of 30.02, a still lower high of 24.54. So that was taken out though. So that's the good news. You broke this series of lower highs. You now have a higher high, and maybe we'll start taking these out one by one. So you want to see 28.78 go out. $30. You want to take out $30, and then I think we'll make some really significant gains. I think I want to own this one.
Yeah, the big question here is whether or not the postal service deal is already baked into the pie, or is it likely?
There'll be other deals.
They just had a good. This is jumping right now because they just had a big order for about 6,000 cars, and then the question is whether or not these lofty levels are already pricing in a good piece of that post office money, or not. And there's a little bit of on the twits. There's a bit of a debate over that issue.
There's always a debate: buy, sell, or hold over every stock, every single day, every single minute of every single day.
Yeah.
You're going to get it.
So that's why it's called gambling. I mean, investing.
My opinion is it's a buy right where it is.
Right where it is. Okay.
If you want to swing trade it, you could do that too. My stop loss would be at 24.50, 24, let's say, and my take profit would be at I don't know,
30.
at least 30.
Yeah. Okay.
Probably 30. Around there. 20, maybe a little under 30 even. This was 30.02, so your take profit could be just under 29.50. You could swing trade this. Look for 3.5 points on the upside, and on the downside, you go for 24. You're looking at 2 points. You're 3-2 shot. It's not bad odds. Looking for $3, willing to risk 2.
Right.
It's not a bad swing trade.
That's true.
Workhorse for a swing trade. Why not? Workhorse to keep putting in your portfolio and keep. Why not? I like Workhorse, and I don't own it. I actually don't. I think I may own it after the show, however.
Yeah. No, I made a little bit on it in these swings, but I think I made the mistake of getting out, and not getting back in again early.
Just for the hell of it, BMTK. I'm sort of hung up on this one.
Yeah, well, it's major. This is the Dermatech, right? Your number 2.
Yeah.
Now,
Just
what is the thing they're curing, or what is the thing they're aiming at?
They already are approved for a patch test for melanoma instead of biopsy. And they're getting more and more private insurance approvals. And Medicare is giving them $750 a pop. That's not bad money.
Oh, that's good reimbursement.
Yeah.
Well, anything that avoids surgery has got to be worthwhile.
Yeah. And not only surgery, the average testing for melanoma is 3 to 5 biopsies.
Right.
Yeah.
So 750 is
And you
cheap.
say we haven't missed the boat on this one?
750 is cheap. Hyperbolic, would you say? Parabolic. Parabolic.
I would say, yeah.
More like exponential. Forget
Yeah,
parabolic.
not parabolic at all. Question is, have we missed the boat?
No, of course not. You buy the dips. It's going to 100. You just buy the dips. It's simple as all that. Yeah,
Now it's time to do your disclaimer.
I did it already.
This is just our opinion, everybody. Do your own due diligence.
We did a disclaimer. I can show a little enthusiasm for my stock pick of the year, can't I?
That's true. That's right. These are just our opinions, and it's on the website's got the disclaimer on it, right?
Yes, all over the place.
Well, this is very pretty. I mean, you have every right to crow about this one.
I'm not. The crowing has only begun. I see this one is a tandem of skin.
The tandem of skin.
Yeah. It's going to make a tandem like move to 100, but maybe by the end of the year. I like this one. This is, like I said, it's actually my number 2 pick. Although I think this one has more growth potential than DraftKings by the end of the year. DraftKings, I'm looking for at most a double. On this one,
Right.
I could get a triple.
But from now or from when you bought it?
From the beginning of the year, whatever it was.
No, you bought it around 15, I think you said, right?
Yeah, but we're talking about year to date, right?
Right. Okay.
So,
yeah, no, you were talking about it last week too, and the week before. I mean,
year to date.
Those of us that don't own it yet have our own selves to blame.
Year to date, it opened at 32.30. So from 32.30, a triple is 96. I think it's doable.
Cool.
And by the end of the year. Now
we're running a little bit late, so we have to do at least one or two of the our stalwarts. Do you want to do ATHX?
Sure.
Yes, please.
It's been hot again, right?
Yeah, had a nice little move yesterday. And it's kind of holding ground here today, it looks like, somewhat.
Mm-hmm. Well, we wrote this. I wrote this up on the website. I'm pretty high on this one, but I do think it'll take time. It's not going to be an immediate move to $4. It'll probably get there by the end of the year, $4 or $5.
The end of 2020.
But
I mean, we're in a new year now, Dr. J. The end of this year.
My goal. Yeah, I think so. I think you could see $4, maybe $5 by the end of this year.
That would be nice.
You know, provided the market doesn't crash, provided things don't fall apart altogether between members of the board, provided it doesn't go down to $1 due to bad COVID-19 odds news. It's not going to go to $1, but it's going to take a haircut if that news is bad.
Right.
And that news figures to be bad.
You wouldn't even swing this, would you?
I think this one is vulnerable on the downside short term. Despite that, it's going to be a phenomenal buy when on any bad news. So this is another one. You buy the dips.
Okay.
Buy the dips, but you
Yeah,
don't
no,
sell the rips.
any day above 2 is a happy day with the stock.
Yeah.
Do not sell the rips. Just buy the dips and put it away.
And don't sell the rips. Okay.
Don't sell the
This
rips.
has been a fun one to follow on Stock Twits. It's becoming a little bit of a battleground in that forum. I've been sort of watching from afar, and
I
mean,
have my opinion.
Yep.
My opinion is strictly my own. And my opinion is that it's vulnerable to downside short term.
yeah, and we
But-
talked about this last week, Dr. J. I mean, if the COVID readout isn't what people hope it is, what, for me personally as an owner, I think I'm a little bit more bearish on that. And I'd be looking to load the boat if we do get a sell off on that news, like you kind of spoke about there. So I'm with you on that. I think long term that you own it for the stroke trial. Which, aside from the COVID readout, I mean, I think we talked about a few other, like the treasure trial readout stuff. I mean, what do you see kind of catapulting this thing to $5, if all goes right by the end of the year? I mean, what's your moment?
I think you're going to get a small pop the end of this month. Well, I don't know what's going to come first: COVID readout, which I'm bearish on, or the last person dosed in ischemic stroke, which will give it a pop. So you're going to have a good catalyst and maybe a bad catalyst. I don't know. But I think the headline, last patient dosed in Japan in the treasure trial, will give it a pop. The 5-person readout in Japan on COVID odds won't matter, non-event.
Yep.
What else? I think you have to wait till the end of the year until you get an initial readout of the probably third quarter, end of third quarter, maybe you'll get a readout of the initial data on the treasure trial. And if that readout is as good as I think it is, it'll pop to $4. No matter where it is trading prior. To be trading at $1.50 prior, it doesn't matter.
Okay.
So that's where I get my $4 from. Looking for the first data readout. There'll be more than one data readout because after 3 months, I don't think the results will be as amazing as after 6 months and after a year. At least that's how it was on the failed phase 2 trial, which you got. The results were better a year out than they were 3 months out.
I'm just looking at Mesa Blast here, and I mean, I know their COVID trial just read out last month, and it looks like there's roughly 40% downside, but I don't know if you really want to comp it to that. I mean, with Athersys, it just doesn't feel like it has that much downside with the COVID readout to me personally. I mean, maybe 10-20% is kind of what I'm looking at, but I mean, if this thing gets hit 50%, I'm going to be backing up the truck.
I don't think it'll go to $1 either. I think it's more like $1.35.
Yeah, I think those days are over.
Somewhere between $1.35 to $1.65. If they have to halt that trial, probably $1.35 would be my guess.
Is there any upside left on Mesa, Alex?
I don't think so.
No, I'm out. I'm not touching it. I'm out on that one. I mean, ever since that trial read out, it's just been sitting here in a little range, and there's not even enough volatility in that range to even try to swing it or anything. So for now, unless there's a thesis changer for me, I'm not touching it.
I'm not touching it either. They flunked their big trial on heart failure as well. So
I'm still holding the bag on some of that. But it seemed to me that there was some good news to hang on to. Yeah, they didn't make. They didn't make that primary.
Why not roll the dice, sell your miso, and average out on your MMNFF?
Okay.
I mean, let's say $7. If you could buy a hell of a lot for 15 cents compared to
That's
$7.
true. That's true. I may even average down to $1.
So, I think there's an opportunity if pot is hot for MMNFF, given the adult use support that Cuomo is talking, if that happens in New York, MMNFF will take off.
So you think gambling? What do you think will happen first? Real gambling or marijuana in terms of New York State?
Maybe at the same time.
You're right. Those coffers are low, and it didn't look like the Fed is going to help anything.
That's right.
They have to make their money somewhere.
That's right.
Another question that seems to be jumping up there: is Bitcoin on a bubble, or is Bitcoin just going up, up, up?
Every market is in a bubble. Bitcoin, the stock market, you name it, the bond market, everything's in a bubble. That's why when the bubble bursts, there's nowhere to hide.
Okay. On that happy note, we should think about closing the show.
In other words, cash will be king.
What do you guys think about gold? I mean,
I don't like gold if the market crashes either.
Okay.
Really? I mean, gold has been one of my happiest investments.
Gold will go down as well. Everything will go down. There's no place to hide.
When the stuff hits the fan, you think it's going to be global, not just the United States.
It'll be global, yeah. Just like the '87 situation.
Okay.
So do you think there's any asset class that serves as a good hedge? I mean, with inflation and how much money governments have been printing, I mean, you would kind of default say gold, but if you're bearish on that, is there anywhere that you?
If they print enough money and the Fed remains accommodative, maybe this bubble will get a lot larger before it bursts.
Yeah.
Because the stock market is a place to be with inflation and accommodation.
Yeah.
So it's just hard to predict when, but it's coming. This could go on a lot longer than Dr. J thinks, but
Yeah, some people are suggesting cash, but cash can't be king
in a heavy inflation environment.
Right?
Yeah.
I especially have my hedge is putting on just the shorts with the VIX, just so I have something.
The problem with going short is you're in a very hot market.
Yeah, no, we get my butt kicked. For
so
now.
you don't want to
I don't understand why you don't like gold. I mean, because gold seems to be the only thing that could that could hold its value despite whatever the dollar does.
It might hold its value better, but it'll go down.
I don't know. I guess the man in the land of the blind is king.
Nothing is going up when this thing crashes, and bonds will not save you like the last time. In what was it, 06, 07, bonds were strong. Right. So when was the last crash? 7, 8, 9? Something like that.
Right.
Yeah, the bonds would save people. It's not going to happen this time. I see the bond market also crashing. You'll do better in bonds and stocks, but you're not going to make money.
You still have counterparty risk. I mean, I still don't understand why munis are doing well.
If they can't raise monies, then they're going to start defaulting and they won't do well.
Right. If the stuff hits the fan, that's what I'd be worried about too.
Eventually, we could have a very bad situation in all markets. Eventually, the question is timing, like anything else. You can't go out because the market's too good to go out. But I'm taking 25% off, maybe 35% off, and enjoying the ride. And praying that I'm smart enough to get out before the total demise.
Well, good luck with that.
Well, it's very tough to know. If you're off 1,000 points one day, is that the signal to get out or not? You don't know. People wind up waiting 2, 3, 4 days, and by that time it's down 20, 25%.
Well, it seems to me you don't wait for the peak, because then that's where the pigs get slaughtered.
Well,
If you really think it's going to happen, then you got to start thinking about unwinding nowish.
Well, I did. I sold all my 3M. I sold a lot of my Amazon. I sold half my Walmart. I was selling blue chips that had prospered during the COVID-19 run. I'm taking a lot off the table, but I have to participate in the penny stock boom, in the bio boom. I'm not going to not participate. So I'm doing what you might call rotation, out of quality and into junk. That's risky business.
Dr. J, maybe one last chart here. Got a request from a personal friend of mine, and I know you guys have talked about it before. It's actually one of my top picks for the year. That's started off very cold. Magnite, MGNI.
I know it's been
report out yesterday by Spruce Point Capital, and I've seen a few of these things over my years in the investing world, and some of them can be legitimate, some of them can be complete fluff. Would be interested to see if you guys have any thoughts on this one. I know you guys have charted it before as a viewer, so.
Yeah. Well, it had a very, very nice run. The question is the run over? That's what we got to figure out here. Or is it just a breather?
That's what I'm trying to figure out. I hope
pop?
it's a breather for my top pick's sake.
What caused the pop to begin with? From let's say from 1217, it was trading at a high of $20, and then it hit a high of $30 the next day. What was the news?
Well, I think that was the Disney partnership on the streaming side. So, they're going to be running all of Disney's ad inventory, on that supply side. So I think the stock had a little run in that just because CTV has been a hot space. I mean, Roku's obviously done well. You've got Trade Desk and all these kind of high flying ad tech companies, and they announced their partnership with Disney, which really got the ball rolling. And, a couple of reputable analysts that I respect came out and said this was also their top pick for 21. And then yesterday you get, one of those short reports, which, we've all probably encountered with stocks we've owned before. And, I've read it. I skimmed over it. It's like a 55 slide report on the company, and there's a wide array of claims. None of them really, to me, seem extremely factual. I think they just looked at a stock that had a great run and, was a little bit in consolidation mode. So, I'd be curious to see, if there's any viewers that have followed this one, I really want to get some thoughts because, I think it's either going to go back to 30 or we're going to see another big drop here. So
I don't see a big drop. I think considering the news, considering the run it's had, I see this nice support area, right between the lines that I drew, 2193 to 2271. First line of support, 2271. Second line of support, 2193. So I like it on a further dip. I would probably be a buyer, despite the hit piece. And so if the 9-day may prove to be support. There was support before. So it might be time to buy right about there, right about $23. Get another dollar off for as an incentive to come back in or to come in. This looks like one I wouldn't be too scared to play.
Okay.
Especially if you get it at that price, $1 lower than where it is now. And if you want to swing trade it, you really have to take some risk on a swing trade. because you're looking at support, further support down at the 1789 level. So you have to be willing to go to like 1750, which is a significant drop if you're buying at 23. So from 23, my stop loss would be, you know, in that 1750 area. That's pretty significant on the downside. So it's not an ideal swing trade, but I think it's one to own. Considering the the fundamentals, it's one to own. And if you want to bail, you bail on if it continues down below 1780, then you bail and just chalk it up as a loss. What are you going to do? It's worth a shot. At about $23, it's worth a shot. In my mind.
Yeah, and I was a little bit reluctant to name it as a top pick of mine just because of the run it had, you know, this past fall. But, you know, I like the technology here. I did a little bit of DD, and, you know, I like management. He's the CEO, Michael Barrett's a former Yahoo executive. I think he's smart. I've listened to a few of his fireside chats. So I'm really anxious to see what his rebuttal is going to be to this short report, because I know he's scheduled a conference or a fireside chat on Monday. So I'll definitely be tuning into that because there's a wide variety of claims. And I mean, you know, sometimes I've seen these short reports be accurate and there's actually real fraud activity going on. And, you know, other times it's just clear to me that it's a money-making operation. They load up on the short position, release the piece, and they cover into that selling, you know.
Most of the time when I go against these big short attacks with the 55-page reports, I make money. But recently I lost. I loaded up on Nicola on the short attack, and I wound up costing me money. So most of the time it's a good idea to go against that short attack, but not all of the time.
Right.
Well, thanks, guys. I appreciate
it's
you
a numbers
taking a
game
look
on
at this one.
But it's a reasonable strategy, I guess.
Yeah. As a rule, go against the short attack, but not always. That's the problem. No, there's no rule that isn't made to be broken. He's in love with Linda. He followed her on fuel cell. He loves Linda for her fuel cell.
Right. Let's see how it feels when she stops making the money.
Linda was worried about Wrigley.
Yeah, she was.
To be honest, because
We all were.
we stayed away.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jiggly. I'm going Buffalo this weekend.
Yeah. Jiggly is two of our most popular, let's say, followers, subscribers, whatever you want to call them.
Family members.
All right, so we could do a whole show with Linda. Maybe we got to get them on.
We started off thinking nobody was going to show up. Now we got the whole gang. Too bad it's an hour 23 in and we have to go.
The whole gang.
Any other sports betting into wild card weekend, Professor Spike, other than the Bills?
Well, the Bills are my favorite of all of these.
They're scary right now. My gosh, they're scary right now. They are.
The Bills are heading for the Super Bowl.
So
what do you think about Tampa Bay? Do you think they have a shot?
Well, I think they'll get through Washington. I mean, there's all this talk about Washington's pass rush and whatnot, but I can't bet against TB12. That's not a very profitable operation throughout history.
But Washington has been unbelievably lucky, and the question is whether or not that luck's going to last. Because if it does, then they're gonna win, and they're gonna at least make it out of this week. And so, from what I've observed this year, no, they're not a good team, but they're extremely lucky. And so, I don't know what to do with that game.
Jiggly's opinions are strictly his own and do not constitute sports betting advice.
And if you're going to do any sports
your own
gambling,
due
do it on DraftKings, right, Dr. J?
There you go. But I will heed to your opinion on Brady. It's hard to bet against him too, especially in the playoffs.
Yeah. I've tried to play the other side of the coin against him, and it usually doesn't end well.
Exactly. That guy costs me a lot of money over time.
Buffalo is my pick. I'm with Jiggly. I think they have real Super Bowl chances. I'd like to see them win one for a change instead of just be in it.
Mm.
Remember that streak they had with Marv Levy and Kelly, where they win how many Super Bowls in a row and lost?
Yeah.
I think it was 4.
Yeah, 4 or 5.
It was ridiculous. 5? I don't know how many there were.
All right, I think
it was horrible. And one of them they lost
it. On the right side. So I'm gonna call it, at least myself.
One of them
we
they
didn't make
lost.
the hour. Well, we will maybe. There's this thing called the Jewish goodbye, where you say goodbye and never leave. And this may very well be one of those kinds of situations.
Well, the Buffalo Bills lost in the last seconds of the Giants as I was driving back from Florida. I remember listening to that game. And they lost on a kick that the guy never misses. It was ridiculous. All right, so that's it for today. Thanks for coming. Hopefully the quality was a little better. It was still suspect. It'll be much better when I'm in the Hamptons next week.
This actually was. People are saying that in terms of the quality, both technical quality and also content was pretty good. So we'll see how much of it.
Thumbs up
for the time. Not Jiggly. Jiggly likes how long we're taking. All right.
If you really want Linda's top pick, you have to go to the website. It's toppicks.com.
Right.
To see Linda's top pick. Because I'm not telling the world what it is. If you want to know Linda's top pick, it's toppicks.com, and you'll get Linda's top pick, and you'll get two others that we didn't talk about yet.
GHSI still, huh? You think there's still some left in that one? And SNDL.
No, GHSI is not her top pick. Adios, amigos. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell people about Dr. J and Professor Spike and Alex and Arjan and Jake and all Linda and Jigglypuff and Man and the Cabinet Guy and Pete and everybody else. Have fun. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Adios, amigos.
Take care, Alex. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you guys. Thanks for having me on.